Look at the circus.
Want a net for that fish?
Yeah, I got it right behind me.
Okay.
This is a nice fish. Look at this. Woohoo!
Beautiful.
Well, guys, welcome to Lake Leelanau. Hey, joining me today on the show is Calvin Steyer Jr. from No Fish, No Feed Guide Service. We're here to show you the opposite of last year. You know, Calvin, last year we brought our folks to Lake Leelanau in the fall, and you watched that show. This is a spring. This is May 14, walleye bass combo, correct?
Yes, yep, and that's very typical of the spring and in the fall, but the smallmouth definitely show up in the springtime, right where the walleye do. You don't have to target them specifically in separate locations, so you can catch them hand in hand. Beautiful.
Well, that's top of the mouth, roof of the mouth, and one of Calvin's favorite baits, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It's a 275 Strike King in a real natural baby bass color. But first fish of the day, Jumpin' Johnny scores, Lake Leelanau smallmouth. Well, it's my first casting Lake Leelanau walleye, and he choked that Strike King 275. Look at that, guys. Wow, he hit that thing so hard.
You need the pliers?
I got it right behind. Yeah, I will. This is down there, boys. But this is what we got. This is what we got here at Lake Leelanau, right, Cal? We got just this size is eater walleyes. Well, while Calvin fishes here, we're just holding this up here. What it is just a traditional jig head. What is this, about a 1/4 ounce?
Yep.
1/4 ounce. And this is the new Strike King 275, which is a really small, as you can see, a really supple tail. This is the baby bass. It's got a kind of a pearl bottom and a natural, almost like, there's a fish, another one. Fish on, I got net. That's perfect. We're spot locked. Oh yeah, look at that. And let me talk you, we're gonna talk to you guys about spot lock right here too. Grant cast right up there. Oh, show that now. Calvin, you caught that on a completely different bait than what I'm using.
Yeah, you know, water temps are still cold, so traditional.
Awesome.
This is a lipless crankbait that we're using. He's not really wanting to show it off too much, as you can see. He was looking for lunch, so these fish are definitely feeding, but same presentation as the 1/4 ounce jig. We're just casting out and slow retrieve back, hopping it off bottom. But as you can hear, I don't know if you can hear that, rattle baits. So once the fish get active and start feeding though, as long as your presentation's on bottom, there's a whole array of baits that you can toss at them. So
these fish are wanting it right here. And well, Calvin gets that one unhooked. What we want to really point out is that we're working these baits. Either bait, they're two totally opposite baits, but what we're doing is working these baits. Imitating a minnow. Grant's in the back right now with a little bit bigger one. I'm sure if he was up here and made a cast out in front of the boat, because there's clearly a school of fish. But this 275 in baby bass, it's a super good color for early in the year. The other thing, Calvin, he ate that bait. Yeah. The other thing is that when we pulled in here, we saw 52 degrees, which was 2 degrees warmer than the other side of the lake, and we saw darker water. So there was some color to that water, and that's really what has made the difference.
get this fish in the well.
The Fisherman's Digest is brought to you by Strike King Lures. Tie one on. Lose, feel the difference. And WavePro, best ride on the water.
Sean,
All
popping
right.
it. I'm popping that thing. They want a little bit. There he is, Calvin. Look at this beautiful
right.
Lake Leelanau walleye.
Gorgeous fish.
I'm telling you what, they want a little bit of action. Look at that. Just right in the roof of the mouth. Just a quick pop. Now this is, we're gonna talk just a little bit for a second here about that. Look at, he hit that hard. And what we're doing here is I'm popping it. In other words, it's a quick up. It's not a lift slow up, it's a pop up and then a complete slack down.
Yes.
And then when I'm reeling, as it's going slack, I'm actually watching the slack line fall and it's jumping.
Yeah.
It's jumping.
When I try to explain to clients on proper presentation, I call it the 3 B's. It's first thing you need to do is make contact with your bait, and then you need to let it fall to the bottom.
Yep.
And then that's when you'll feel the bite.
Exactly.
So that's the thing that I stress to people, and I try to put that in their heads.
Bait
so that they
bottom bite.
Yep. They get that goes through your head over and over and over again.
And it's one of those things, like Calvin, for example, is really good using that vibrating like a rip and wrap bait. Oh,
fish
now
on.
Grant's got one. I'll shut up and let you catch
All
it.
right.
Good job, Granny.
Got this loose drag.
That's all right. All right.
Not bad.
All right. Beautiful fish. Yeah. He ate it well too as well. All right. There you go. Whoop.
I didn't catch a darn thing until they told me to do the little
Yeah, the
bait
pop.
bottom.
Yep.
The
You just
pop is the key.
replay that scenario over and over again. You can see how that fish is hooked. He's definitely, these fish are in here, they're eating. Definitely an active school. The last fish John caught, I think he missed it the cast before.
Yes.
Cast right back out, and he picked the fish up. So that just goes to show you how active they are right now. But another beautiful fish. Nice and fat, recovering after the spawn. So let's get after another one. And again, I can't stress enough that you're not going to come here and catch giant fish at Lake Leelanau, but just beautiful eater class walleye is what we call them. And there are trophies in this fishery, but it's not going to be your average fish. So again, that's on a lipless crankbait.
Now you could run a rip and wrap, a red eye shad, anything basically that sinks with a lot of rattles, right?
Yes, the biggest thing is the size and the profile of the bait. So,
You have a small one there.
Yep. So that's a pretty small one. As long as, you know, like Strike King has their half ounce, I would.
Yes.
So I'd use the half ounce in certain scenarios, but if you can find a smaller, like a 3/8, a lot of times for snap jigging off the bottom, that's the size I prefer. So especially with the size class walleye that we're catching, if we were into 20, 25-inch fish, you'd definitely be able to upsize to a larger
Yep.
profile. But with these size fish, the 3/8 ounce is really the size I focus on.
Yeah, there's no weight. Fish? You got the one I missed.
Oh, come on.
There.
All right, hopefully
Keep
this
'em
one will
on.
stay hooked up.
Stay hooked up, Granny.
All right.
Woo-hoo!
Got him back.
All
Revenge.
Great fish.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll
Right in
grab
the
it.
top of the mouth again.
I'll grab it and do it. Do
Okay.
it back here.
About the paddle tail?
Yep.
All right, fantastic. I won't cast because I'll interrupt you.
So what we got here is another great Lake Leelanau walleye. Now this is one Grant just caught. I'm gonna talk about that presentation, that pop, okay? Because it's really, really important when you're using these soft plastics. We'll put her in the live well and I'll come right back to you. Awesome fish. But you notice on this new Strike King 275 is that one of the things is that this tail is so subtle. Well, when Grant's quick lifting that for 6 inches, that tail really will bounce around. Then as it falls, which is when the hit is coming, this really has a supple action. If you were slow lifting it, you wouldn't have near as much action. So it's that quick 6-inch pop and then that slack line fall. That's what's putting fish in the boat right now. And also match the color. If Chase shows you the color of the water, it's pretty green right now. This is matching that color of the water perfectly. It's almost like, you know, a real traditional color of a you know, like a green pumpkin. And this pearl, of course, how many times have you seen a minnow with a pearl back? You don't. You see them with a pearl belly. So make sure you put that bait on properly so that you're showing the fish just what they want to see. But right now, Grant and Calvin and I are all putting the hurt to these Lake Leelanau walleye. Hey, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Fisherman's Digest is brought to you by Offshore Tackle, leaders in trolling technology. Traxstech, the ultimate fishing system. And Garmin.
Back on the jig?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, nice fish. Oh, beauty. Look at that one. That Strike King swim bait again on a 1/4 ounce jig head. Set the net down there. That one was hooked right in the corner of the mouth.
I was doing the side jerk, that's why.
Small profile, spring of the year. We like to downsize our profile because a lot of the bait fish, a lot of the forage is smaller this time of year. So just a nice sleek profile, hopping it off the bottom again.
Yep, well this time instead of why it wasn't hooked in the top, I'm on the side of the boat, so I have to jerk sideways
Okay,
to
dragging it.
action. So,
Nice fish though, probably a 17 and a half, 18 incher. Looks like a spawned out female. So hopefully lots of Lake Leelanau walleye to come in the future as well. There we go.
Hey, for our trip today on Lake Leelanau, we had super good success on the new Rage Swimmer by Strike King. Now this is the 2.75 inch, and I pulled one out here to show you. The bottom is pearl, the top is kind of almost like a green pumpkin, and the exact color on this particular one is green pumpkin and pearl, so exactly what it says. Now the thing I like about this bait that we talked about earlier is the tremendous flimsiness of that tail. This is just the wind right now blowing that tail, and it's not really that windy out. And so imagine when you get that in water, just a little bit of movement really makes it swim. Now, what we used for our rod, of course, is just a regular, I just always grab my Walleye Special, which is a Lew's custom speed stick with a mock crush reel. Now we spool it with about 20-pound braid. And then what's really important on these northern Michigan lakes, you know, today we're in Traverse City region and here on Lake Leelanau, is a good fluorocarbon leader. Now I'm putting about an 8 or a 10-pound test leader. Don't go too heavy when you're targeting walleye, but you can get away with that heavy because you're fishing a swim bait. This is a strike bait. They're gonna come and hit this bait. They're not gonna sit and inspect it. It's gonna go by them. They gotta make a decision. And so fish just paired up with a regular old colored up jig. You could also use an 1/8 ounce squadron jig head, but today we needed a smaller jig, so, and also it seemed that the color made a difference, so we just went with a regular old just 1/4 ounce lead head jig head. Now other bait options, Zero Z2s. Notice that same color, it's got that same feel to it. This is a super soft bait, and they'll hit and hold this bait really well. Now I'm going with the smaller Z2 baby early in the year because we're trying to match, you know, the fact that you're not dealing with really big fish in the system. So we're downsizing our baits, the water's cold, we're dealing with 50-degree water temperature. So try out swim baits, either the Zero Z2 or a Rage Swimmer next time you're thinking that you have to fish live bait. You saw it today firsthand. No live bait, aggressive pumping action with soft plastics works just fine, especially in cold water periods. Wow, look at that fish in that beautiful water.
Aren't they pretty? Look at them cough out the mayfly, or the wigglers.
Coughing up all kinds of stuff.
I got them line wrapped here. There we go. Oh yeah.
Woo! There.
Nice white belly.
Look at that.
Try not to get a hook in my hand here.
Yeah, I know. Tell you, we use these little shallow, it might seem to some people that what do you use such a little net for? That little rubber net's actually a lot easier to deal with than a big net.
So that fish really ate it. I mean, I felt it, but before I felt it, I could see my line jump. So these fish are just putting on the feed bag, and as we were reeling them in, he was just regurgitating wigglers. So they're here for one reason. We're sitting on a little contour, a little turn in the contour. We found the fish, we located them, we spot locked them, dropped the waypoint. And it's always, in my mind, it's always interesting when I get in a spot where there's fish, and especially a new spot, and I drop a waypoint, or where I start catching fish and then drop a waypoint, and you look at your electronics, it just puts the pieces to the puzzle together for you. It may look good on a screen, but until you get out there and fish it and find the fish, it really doesn't necessarily always make sense.
So what we've got here for our little tip of the day for Garmin and for Motor Guide, these are the two players right now. If you can see, this green on our Garmin is the shallow base point. And we've dropped a waypoint where we're catching the fish, and the boat is hanging downwind of the waypoint. Now we're keeping it there because you'll see this correct even as I'm talking by anchoring the XI5. And in this anchored position now we've caught 8 fish in probably what, 20 casts? Because we've just really got it isolated. You can't do this style of fishing truthfully without these two pieces of equipment. You've got to know where the structure is, you hit the mark, you hit the anchor, now you've got it locked in. Now you know where the fish are at, and from there you're able to put lots of fish in your boat. Utilizing the combination of your chips, your electronics and sonar, and your XI5's anchor feature, you're able to stay right on top of the fish all day long.
The Fisherman's Digest is brought to you by Crestliner, forged with strength, defined by durability.
Got one chance at him, Grant. Beautiful. Hey guys, you know, one of the things to using Panoptics is the advantage of being able to look under things with confidence. We are fishing this little dock system here, and as you can see on the screen, we're seeing all kinds of structure under there, and most importantly, we're seeing the fish themselves swimming underneath that structure. Panoptics is an awesome tool for when you're fishing around structure and locating fish. Look at that one. Oh, what a beautiful fish. He T-boned that thing too.
Oh. Gorgeous fish.
Lake Leelanau at its finest.
I'll grab that.
And we'll turn and give you sunlight.
Okay.
You can talk about it.
All right. So in all the chaos of catching some fish here, we kind of drifted off our spot. We got a line tangled in the trolling motor. And I think that's back to the point of how crucial it is with spot lock and electronics.
Exactly.
Being able to waypoint that spot. We were able to come right back to it. Once we landed right back on the waypoint.
2 fish.
2 fish, just like that.
You caught one, Grant caught one. I'm about to catch one because I landed it in a good spot again.
All right, well I won't get in your way.
My apologies for the tangle.
We'll get this fish unhooked and get back at it.
I picked up Calvin's rod. I wanted to feel what a vibrating bait feels like on a walleye. I'm telling you what, I yanked it out of one of them's mouth.
There you go. Another dandy.
Oh, Calvin, this is craziness.
Yeah, you know, this time of year, I always tell my clients not to get discouraged when you go, you know, sometimes we'll go 2-3 hours
We
without...
didn't have a fish
Yep.
early. I mean, I had that nice smallie, and that's typically, as you saw from last fall's show, we had an awesome smallmouth show. But Calvin told us, you know what? And Jen Case from Traverse Tourism told us, you want great walleye fishing, come to Leelanau early.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what, Calvin, that is great Traverse City walleye fishing.
Another dandy fish.
Oh, awesome. I'm
Spring.
gonna make another cast.
All
Well,
right.
you talk.
All right, spring and fall time. Rising water temps, falling water temps is really the time when these fish school up, and that's the time we target them. Summertime, deep water bite, trolling bite, things like that. But if you really want the action, cast jigging, the spring and the fall is the time to be here.
Hey, thanks for joining us on today's show here on Lake Leelanau in the Traverse City region. The Little Rage Swimmer 275 was on fire today for those walleyes. No tipped with minnows, no tipped with live bait, nothing. Just a little bit of finesse and a really good plastic. Hey, we'll see you again, and don't forget to check us out on Facebook for all the up-to-date fishing reports and show information. Thanks again, guys.
Closed captioning brought to you by WavePro. Best ride on the water, online at waveproshock.com.